I'd like to start by saying I'm very grateful that all of you were able to make it today. Also, to say a few things, I usually don't get nervous when I give a lecture, but I'm nervous today. And the reason for that is usually what I try to do is talk about a small subject, but zoom in very deeply as much as I can in a given time frame. But in these very short amount of hours that we have together, I'm trying to pack in a lot of information, even though I've promised myself I'm not going to rush through the material. But I'm still hoping to cover all of the material tonight. So I just want you to be mentally prepared. This is not going to be entertaining. So some of you will get some of the best sleep of your life tonight, and I am not personally offended. I know I've been helping you sleep for many years, so it's going to be okay, inshallah. The second thing, I want to give you a quick introduction. We're going to take a break for Isha prayer in about half an hour. So I have half an hour to get some things across to you, to put a dent in the material, and we'll come back and continue, bi'idhnillah. Where I want to start is the concept of our relationship with the Quran. We hear about that all the time, that we have to have a relationship with the Quran. We have to understand the Quran. We have to contemplate the Quran. We have to remember Allah through the Quran. None of this is new for any of you. What I'd like to add to that conversation, maybe it's there, but I want to bring it to our consciousness, to our forefront, is that sometimes people think of a religious text, not just Islam, in other religions too. They think of a religious text. It has two purposes. It has a spiritual purpose and it has a ritual purpose. So they look at any religion and they reduce the religion to either spirituality or rituals. Right? So if you want to use Islamic terminology, we can reduce the Quran to aqidah or fiqh, for example, right? We could just think about theological concepts in the Quran, or we can think about like fiqh, fatawa, rulings, ahkam, etc. And both of those are very important and fundamental parts of our religion. But the word of Allah is more inclusive than those lenses. There's more going on in the Quran than those two lenses. And even though we don't outwardly say that those are the two lenses, practically speaking, most of the time, those become our two lenses. And the other lenses with which we're supposed to look at the Quran and learn and apply the Quran, those they go into the background. And they go so far into the background that sometimes you can have people that are very serious about the Quran in one way, but very loose about the Quran in another way. So for example, there are very strong instructions in the Quran about inheritance rules. For example, there are very strong indications in the Quran about the process of a divorce, for example. And you might find somebody who recites their Quran every day. They're even memorizing. They're learning their tajweed. They're making sure they're taking aqidah classes. They're learning Arabic. They're praying, all of their taraweeh. They're scoring perfect on their taraweeh score. What do you call it? I'tikaf in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. All of it. Umrah every year as many times as they can. But they didn't give their sister the share in inheritance. And they didn't, some things just completely ignored. Or the way they had the divorce happen, it got very ugly. Even though the Quran says, وَلَا تَنْسَوْا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ, don't forget to do favors to each other, even at the time of a divorce. It's the same Quran, and it's ironically, they'll recite the ayah beautifully. They might even sit in a tafsir halaqah of the ayah, but practically it didn't translate over to some other parts of life. And on the outside, that person could actually look like a very serious Muslim. And they are. They are a serious Muslim, but their lens on the Quran was reduced. And so they didn't really see that as a problem. It's a contradiction, but they don't see it. They're not aware of it. What I'm going to try to share with you today is a lens with which to look at the Quran. We're not going to look, even though it's always going to be a spiritual lens, we're going to look at the Quran from the lens of understanding economics. We're going to look at a lens, how does Allah talk about the material world and how we're supposed to pursue, for example, wealth? How is trade supposed to happen? How is the economy of a country supposed to flourish? Well, what do we think about? Because, sometimes we think about the Quran, we think about deen, and then when you think about banking, or you think about, trade or tariffs, or you think about career, you're talking about dunya. So deen is Quran and dunya is something else. They're two separate worlds. But the Quran doesn't let us separate those two worlds. And that's what I'm going to try to put in front of all of you and myself, so we don't separate this conversation from the conversation about the Quran, that this becomes an inseparable part of our journey through the Quran. Now, I'm going to get right into the material because, again, we have tons and tons of things to cover. So let's first talk about how Allah speaks about natural resources on this earth. I'll start with a few easy places. And by the way, by no means are the selection of ayat I've made today comprehensive. These are all samplings. I'm touching on the subjects. Each one of those subjects for Islamic university students, each one of these subjects can be a PhD dissertation if they dive deep enough. They can be. But I'm just touching, just getting drops from each of these different oceans. Okay. Allah says, أَنَّا صَبَبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا. We made the rain fall down heavy. ثُمَّ شَقَقْنَا الْأَرْضَ شَقًّا. We made the earth tear open. فَأَنْبَتْنَا فِيهَا حَبًّا. We caused the grain to come out. وَعِنَبًا وَقَضْبًا وَزَيْتُونًا وَنَخْلًا. The grapes, the fruits, the bunches of fruits that come out, olives, palm trees, وَفَاكِهَةً, all kinds of fruits, وَأَبًّا, all kinds of pasture, all kinds of crop, مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ, as something to be utilized by all of you, وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ, and for your animals. So now, very briefly, Allah talked about rain and produce and our consumption and animal consumption, particularly cattle, sheep, etc. If you just think from an economic perspective, nations that have their natural agricultural resources, meat resources, poultry resources, dairy resources are actually at a huge economic advantage already because they don't have a food shortage. And many of those nations, there's entire regions in the world that depend on them for their exports. And they determine the price of something like wheat and eggs and bread at the grocery store, etc. All of that is entirely dependent on this. It's simply mentioned in an ayah. But if you think about this from an economic perspective, what Allah has done is mentioned one of the most profound resources. You would think in the ancient world, people were farmers. And now we have big buildings and highways and mobile devices. But you know what? We still need eggs. We still need bread. We still need milk. We still need the fruit. You're still going to go to the grocery store and buy the same fruit that somebody was eating, 5,000 years ago. We have the same fundamental dependencies. And whenever there's for example, in Ukraine, because of the conflict with Russia and Ukraine, Ukraine was supplying wheat and other natural, food resources to many countries, and prices spiked. And it started affecting the bottom line in many, many countries. And by the way, when food prices go up, it starts having a trickle effect on other commodities. The entire business supply chain starts getting affected. So Allah is talking about one thing, but it has such major impact on how the world functions. Entire nations go to war over water supply. We saw some of that in the recent conflict between Pakistan and India, for example. الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم. The one who created the skies and the earth and sent water from the sky, rain again. And so rain is now study, for example, on your own. You can cheat now. Go ask ChatGPT, okay? The impact of rain on the global economy. Just anything you study in the Quran, just as a personal exercise. Allah is talking about something and let's talk about the clouds, or Allah is talking about rain, or Allah is talking about just that on the global economy. And you'll be like, whoa, this is a lot deeper than I thought. This is really serious, impactful stuff. Allah says He produced all kinds of fruit as rizq for you, rizqan lakum. Now Allah is not just saying that He was producing these things. He's saying these are a means by which you can have rizq. Now, this is one of the key economic terms in the Quran, rizq. The Quran has certain economic terms. One of the most fundamental economic terms in the Quran is rizq. We're all familiar with rizq. And rizq is two kinds. There's spiritual rizq. Your teacher is a rizq. This guidance is rizq. Your parents are rizq. The sadaqah you're able to give, the good intention, all of that is rizq from Allah. But the other rizq from Allah is literally the food on your plate, right? The produce that you're enjoying. And by the way, in the previous ayah, I failed to mention, when Allah mentions the rain, the earth, and the crop, and you and your animals, you go home tonight, maybe how many people already had dinner? Show of hands. Shame on you. Okay. That means you're going to be sleeping. So you should have come hungry. Anyway, when you're about to eat dinner, it's either going to be meat or it's going to be vegetables. I mean, there's not a lot of variety. There's some kind of meat or some kind of vegetables. How did that meat get on your plate? How did that vegetable reach your plate? It started with rain. Crop grew, the animal ate that crop, the animal got slaughtered, the crop got picked, that got processed, put in a factory, stored, transported. We don't know. Maybe the fruit you're eating has traveled 1,000 miles. And the meat you're eating was flown in from, I don't know, New Zealand. God knows where, right? I was recently talking to somebody in Qatar who had they had a dairy shortage because obviously it's Qatar. They don't exactly have cows hanging out in the desert. So they have to fly poultry and even sometimes animals in. They have to fly in animals by the hundreds of thousands. And if there's a conflict zone in the region and there are no fly zones, that becomes a life or death problem for food import, right? So this is even the entire supply chain was mentioned very simply in this ayah. But then Allah mentions, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الْفُلْكِ لِتَجْرِيَ فِي الْبَحْرِ بِأَمْرِهِ وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمُ الْأَنْهَارِ Allah surrendered the ships so they work for you, and Allah surrendered the rivers so they can work for you. So there are two bodies now. The ship, because the ship didn't have to have buoyancy and it didn't have to float. Allah made it float. And then the rivers didn't have to cooperate with you. The waves could move in a way that always crash you into the side of the land. So now the waterworks are cooperating with you, and the ship is cooperating with you. 90% of the trade that's happening in the world is happening through the water. Most of the goods we enjoy that are coming from everywhere and the import-export in the world is taking place in the water, right? And we don't have the means to carry that large sum, the container ships that are coming at the docks in so many nations. None of that is possible without the waterworks, without the water pathways. And Allah this is some of the most fundamental concepts in the Quran. And then I'll take it, this is the more direct resources, but I'm going to have you think about another ayah here. انظروا إلى ثمره إذا أثمر وينعه إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون. Look at the fruit when it becomes ripe, when it's first coming out, and when it becomes mature. The word fruit in the Quran isn't just used for fruit. It's actually also used for investments. Remember, I'm giving you a second economic term. What was the first economic term? Rizq. Now we're getting another term. What's that? Fruit. Thamar. Rizq. You can remember fruit. It's fine. Fruit in the Quran isn't just about a garden and an orange and an apple or a mangosteen. The fruit in the Quran is about an investment, because even the garden actually is real estate, then it's human resources, then it's maintenance and investment and nurturing and security and all of that. And then there's a supply chain because you have to pick the fruit, and there's timelines, there's sales. There's deadlines for the sales because the fruit's going to go bad. And all of that, in the end, the person who reaps the benefit of that investment is, the gardener. So they finally get to have the fruit. When the gardener enjoys the fruit of the garden, it doesn't just mean he grows oranges and he eats the orange. It means he enjoys the income that came from the orange garden or the garden grove. You understand? So now what is Allah even hinting at? Allah is talking about, look at how I create investment opportunities for you that sprout, they start, and then they reach maturity. There's a startup company, it has a little bit of revenue, then it's able to franchise, it's able to grow, and it's able to create jobs and create an entire industry or lead and pioneer an entire industry. This is something Allah wants us to contemplate. This is the next step after the natural resources, is the business development in the world that Allah even hinted at. Okay, other terminologies. I want you to just know some of the key terms as they come up in the Quran. I already mentioned two. What did I say? Rizq and thamar. There's fadl. Fadl in Arabic literally means extra. If your boss gave you a bonus, that was a fadl, right? If your revenues were more than expected, that was a fadl. If you are more than breaking even, that ribh, that benefit is a fadl. Allah uses this word across the Quran in different ways. Even in Surah Al-Muzammil, which is the height of spirituality, Allah says, وَآخَرُونَ يَضْرِبُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ يَبْتَغُونَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. There are other people who travel long distances in the world to pursue the fadl of Allah, which actually means they're trying to make money by traveling and looking for new business opportunities. They're buying and selling goods, making deals, looking for ways to invest, etc., etc. All of that is Allah's description is they are pursuing the fadl of Allah. I'll come back to this ayah in a little bit. But I want to just open up this notion for you. How is Allah talking about the pursuit of business opportunity, the pursuit of rizq, the pursuit of fadl? What are some of the things Allah says? قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي أَخْرَجَ لِعِبَادِهِ وَالطَّيِّبَاتِ مِنَ الرِّزْقِ. Allah says, declare, who dares to make the beautiful things that Allah made, Allah's beauty, that He brought out for His servants, who dares to make that impermissible? That He brought out for His servants, and all the good and pure things from rizq that He brought out. Meaning Allah is saying, I created gardens, I created oil and gas reserves, I created mineral resources, I created the mountains that can be mined for all kinds of coal and other natural resources, or the iron ore, etc., etc. I created all of this, and then somebody comes along and says, brother, don't think about dunya, think about your akhirah. Astaghfirullah, just spend your time in the masjid and don't go. Wait, hold on. Who dares to make the beautiful things that Allah created and brought them out for the benefit of His servants and the good and pure things? Who dares to make those things impermissible? Like Allah is offended that someone is discouraging you from the gifts that Allah created. Man harrama zinat Allah. Who dares to do that? You know, on the one hand, it's very common that Muslims, when they become religiously serious, they're like, you cannot take something haram and make it halal. They get very serious about it. Hey, that's haram, that's haram, that's haram. But Allah is equally offended when you take something halal and try to make it look bad. Who are you to take something that Allah has no problem with and turn it into a problem? So taking the halal and making someone feel like that's haram is also a crime, just like the opposite. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ أَن تَبْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. You're going to Hajj, the most spiritual journey of your life. You're going to dress in the ihram, which is a representation of the clothes you're going to get buried in. You're doing tawaf and saying, you're coming to the haram saying, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, because you're rehearsing Judgment Day. You're leaving this world. You're leaving this world. This is the exercise to show that we are in this world temporarily, and the real convention is Judgment Day, and the convention to celebrate Judgment Day is Hajj every year. And Allah says about Hajj, there's no harm that when you go to Hajj, you pursue fadl from your Rabb. Meaning, if somebody's going to go to Hajj, they're going to travel 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. And in the ancient times, maybe somebody was traveling 6 months, 4 months, 5 months before they reach. How are they going to get there if they don't have life savings? They're going to have savings, money. They're going to have something to make it all the way to Hajj. When they make it to Hajj, maybe by the time they get there, they're running out of all their money. So congratulations, you made Hajj, and on the way you'll starve to death. Right? Allah says, no. وَتَزَوَّدُوا. Make sure you take enough supplies. فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. Because taking enough supplies to budget your journey is part of taqwa. The best kind of, the best kind of supply is taqwa. Two meanings. Spiritually take taqwa with you, and take precautions and have the right budget with you. And when you get there, maybe you should take enough money with you or resources with you that you can do buying and selling when you go to Hajj. And تَبْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Think of it this way. We have trade conventions, right? You have a tech conference, and tech companies are there. There's, where Texas, where I live, we have a lot of gun shows, right? So there's gun manufacturers, they're all convening, getting together, right? There's Comic-Con, and there's all kinds of conventions with different industries. Who's gathered at Hajj? You know who's gathered? Every person from every industry. It is the biggest networking opportunity on the planet. Business networking opportunity. And Allah says there's no harm that you should pursue fadl from your Rabb when you go out there. Pursue making connections, pursue selling and buying goods, making deals. It's okay. You did your Hajj part, now you can still pursue the dunya part. And by the way, in a place where you're supposed to forget the world, we're doing tawaf, right? We're doing tawaf. Forgot Allah. And every time we pass by the rukn, we say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. Give us good in this dunya and the akhirah. Even there, Allah didn't let us forget about what? This world. This world. So let's keep track of time. Okay, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Okay, not too bad. Allah says about Dhul Qarnayn. The Surah Al-Kahf begins with a surah where young men left the world. They were moved into a cave. And people use that story and say, brother, dunya is fitna. You need to go where? Go to a cave. Because there's too much. Look at all the highways. Look at the internet. Look at the mobile device. Astaghfirullah. Fitna, fitna, fitna. Go find your cave, brother. Okay, that's it. I'm moving to Kota Kinabalu. I'm not even going to face the ocean. Too much fitna. I'm going to face the mountain and just live there. I don't want to have nothing to do with anyone. Okay, I'm going to move out in the desert. I just want to get away from everyone. Stay in a mountain. So, same surah. By the time you get to the end of the surah, you get the story of Dhul Qarnayn, don't you? And in the story of Dhul Qarnayn, Allah says, "Inna makkanna lahu fil ardi wa ataynahu min kulli shay'in sababan fa atba'a sababa." Allah says, we gave him stability in the world. So one of the big favors of Allah is stability for a society, stability for a business, stability for a family, stability for a country, stable market, stable prices, stable jobs, stable middle class, stable trade partners, stable price ranges, right? This is a key part of stability. You don't get stability without a stable market. If a market is collapsing, that society cannot have stability. In fact, when markets tumble, politics tumble. The business world and the politics world and the national security, they're all dominoes. They're connected. They're inseparable from each other. Allah says we gave him, وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا. We provided him all kinds of resources. I'll go easy English translation. We provided him all kinds of what? Resources. Now, if I have a lot of resources, alhamdulillah, Allah has given me a lot. I don't have to do anything now because I have all kinds of resources. What does Allah say about Dhul Qarnayn? فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. Then he used those resources to pursue further resources. You know what that is? That's called reinvestment. That's called reinvestment. Allah says he gave him all kinds of resources. He could just stay in his kingdom. His people will be happy. He's happy. Everything is okay. What do you find about Dhul Qarnayn? Where is he going? He's going where nobody's ever gone before. He's going to some muddy area between some mountains, people that don't even speak a language. Isn't that what you see? Why is he going to all these places? He wants to bring development and he wants to bring advancement everywhere he can. He has this expansive mind and he's taking people with him, and as he's going, he's building alliances with people he's never met before. And it's also a side note, but it's interesting. The people he met, does Allah specifically describe that the people that he made partnerships with, the people that he dealt with, the people that he did business with, were they believers necessarily, the people that he met? So is that a condition that when you are expanding business, you should only expand business with believing partners? No. Even in Medina, Rasulullah did business with non-Muslims. We bought goods and services from non-Muslims, even from Jewish tribes. We did it. That happened. That's part of the seerah. In fact, the weapons on the battlefield in Badr, many of the weapons were bought from the Jewish tribes because they were weapons manufacturers. And some of the swords on the Quraysh side and the swords on the Muslim side were the same manufacturer. Trade is trade. Trade is what's to your advantage, so long as it's ethical, you engage in the trade. And so, فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. Now, there's a growing strangeness that's taken over the Muslim world. How many people here would know of maybe themselves or others who pursued higher education? If you know yourself or others who pursued higher education, show of hands. Okay, maybe you pursued a higher education in medicine, economics, business. You went to, dental school. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. You did, engineering, whatever you studied, right? You're about to send your son to go do a higher degree in another country. Yeah? And you have some very religious friends, very Islamic friends. They're more Islamic than Islam. And you're having dinner with them 2 days before your son is about to travel and pursue his master's PhD. Those, mashallah, Islamic friends are telling you what? You're sending your son to do hijrah for dunya. This is hijrah for the sake of dunya. Brother, you should send your son for the sake of akhirah. Go let him do a degree in sharia. Go let him study fiqh and aqidah. Go let him study hadith. Why are you sending him to do economics? Why are you sending him to do an engineer? Allah will not ask about engineering on Judgment Day, brother. Really? Allah will not ask about engineering? What did Dhul Qarnayn do? He built a wall, right? He built a wall. Did he study what breaks your wudu to build the wall? Like That knowledge is beneficial, but is knowledge of engineering and what materials do you need? Do you need copper? Do you need metal? How do you smolder it? How do you put it between the two? How does the wall hold? Is that knowledge of dunya or akhirah? What is that? And is that in the Quran? What we've done is we've secularized Islam. What that means is Islam belongs in the religious space. It doesn't belong in engineering. It doesn't belong in business. Those pursuits are also blessed pursuits. Listen to this ayah. وَآيَةٌ لَهُمْ أَنَّا حَمَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ فِي الْفُلْكِ الْمَشْحُونِ وَخَلَقْنَا لَهُم مِّن مِّثْلِهِ مَا يَرْكَبُونَ وَإِن نَّشَأْ نُغْرِقْهُمْ فَلَا صَرِيخَ لَهُمْ وَلَا هُمْ يُنقِذُونَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً مِنَّا وَمَتَاعًا إِلَىٰ حِينٍ. This is Surah Yasin. And the irony is the super religious guys reciting Surah Yasin and saying, don't go into dunya, dunya, dunya. Allah says, a miraculous sign for them is that we allowed their children to board onto ships. Why were people putting their children on ships in the ancient world? Why? For what purpose? Go explore a new world. Go find a new economic opportunity. Go learn something. Go learn tradecraft. We can't learn that in this village. Go to the big city and learn how to make pots and pans. Go learn how to build. Learn this. Learn trade. Learn the ways of those that have learned more than us. Go learn governance. Go work at this job. Go, work under the king. Work under the advisor, etc. Isn't that what they were doing? They were putting their children so they could have a better future. Astaghfirullah for dunya. Allah says, وَآيَةٌ لَهُمْ. It is a miraculous sign for them that Allah allowed people to have better futures for their coming generations by sending them out into the world. And we created for them, like the ships, Allah says, other things that they board. It's so beautiful that Allah mentioned we made ships for them, but we also made other vehicles that they are going to board. And Allah didn't say which vehicles they are, which maybe even includes planes today, right? I'm sure it doesn't include, rocket ships to the moon or whatever. I'm pretty sure it doesn't include Bezos. But anyway, Allah says, and if we wanted, we could have drowned them. If this was not a blessed journey, Allah could have just not allowed you to do it, and He could have drowned them in the middle of the sea. And nobody would even hear them screaming because their mouth would be full of water as they're drowning. فَلَا صَرِيخَ لَهُمْ وَلَا هُمْ يُنقِذُونَ. Nobody would be rescuing them. This is all a rahmah from us, and this is mata'an ila hin, resources until a limited time. Another economic term. I forgot the other economic terms I gave you. It's been a long time. It's been like 3 hours. What was it? Rizq, Thamar, fruit, right? Rizq, fruit. Fadl. When I went through quickly, I didn't make you think about it as sabab, resources. Sabab, from Dhul Qarnayn. We're learning economic vocabulary in the Quran. Right? Here's a new one. Allah Azza wa Jalla is now saying the word mata'. Mata'. Mata' has two meanings. Something to utilize, a resource. Also something to enjoy. Utility and, what did I say? Utility and enjoyment. Fruit has utility. It provides me vitamins, nutrients, but fruit also has what? Enjoyment. Chicken is a good source of protein, but it also tastes good when the Koreans make it. Utility and enjoyment. Cars have utility. They drive from A to B. They have utility. But a nice car is also what? Enjoyable. A horse. Back in the day, a horse is utility. But a nice horse is also what? Enjoyment. Actually, enjoyment is also something that drives industry. Not just utility. An app, the apps you have on your phone, many of those are utility. It's a mapping device, it's a shopping device, whatever function it has. But they have a design team to make sure that the user experience is what? Enjoyable. And if your user experience is not enjoyable, you're going to delete that app, get another app that's a more enjoyable experience, isn't it? Even the phones you have in your hand, these things, they have utility and they have enjoyment. Mata'. An important, essential term in the Quran. Allah says this is all rahmah and a mata' until a little time. I have 2 minutes left, and I think I can finish this slide. Allah says, لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ أَن تَدْخُلُوا بُيُوتًا غَيْرَ مَسْكُونَةٍ فِيهَا مَتَاعٌ لَكُمْ. Mata'. Same term again? It occurs many times. I'm giving you drops. Allah says there's no harm on you when you enter homes that are not lived in, meaning commercial buildings, in which there is mata' for you. You're walking into a university, mata' for you. You're walking into a mall, mata' for you. You're walking into a doctor's office, a hospital, an accounting firm, a business office, a taxi. These are all basically the commercial zones of the world. Allah says there's no harm when you walk into those places. You don't say, no. I only go to the home. My life is my house and the masjid. Because I'm so Islamic. More than the Quran apparently. There's no harm on you when you go into buildings that have other non-residential, non-spiritual functions, because those buildings have what for you? Mata'. By the way, if that is the indication, isn't Allah already hinting at the fact that there should be a lot of building going on? Because buyutan ghayra maskuna that have mata', Allah is hinting, build that and you're going to have more and more utility, more and more resources to enjoy. And then I'll take you, as we move forward, I'll take you back to the ancient times. This is the last ayah I'll share with you before we go on. I haven't even gotten to the juicy part yet. This is just an overview. How is Allah talking about the pursuit of economic benefit, right? Nuh alayhi salam is the earliest of the great prophets. What is he telling his people? I mean, you would imagine Nuh alayhi salam is not a global prophet. He's just living in a village somewhere. We didn't have big cities back then, right? What does he say to them? He says, Wallahu ja'ala lakum al-arda bisata litasluku minha subulan fijaja. Allah made the earth an expanse for you so you can pursue pathways and highways and find new avenues and explore the world. Nuh alayhi salam is telling his people that Allah has made the world a lot bigger than this village, this place we're having this argument in, and Allah made it so big so you can go pursue in the world. Can you imagine? Nuh alayhi salam had a global outlook, and nobody can travel. Nobody can travel in the world without having an economic plan. Where are they going to sleep? How are they going to survive? How are they going to protect themselves? What are they going to build with? They have to have an economic plan. So even Nuh alayhi salam was already referring to the world getting developed by way of human beings traveling and seeking out more and more and more. SubhanAllah.